Yo, pull up a chair, let the real talk begin. Faith on the table where the brothers lock in. Life gets heavy, but we stand our ground. Truth in the room when the circle comes round. No mask, no front, just real man here. Talking about faith through the doubt and the fear. From the grind of the week to the lessons we share. Welcome to the men's round table, pull up a chair. Men's round table series, step inside. Real men, real faith where the truths collide. Voices at the table where the stories get shared. Welcome to the men's round table. Pull up a chair.
What happens when a man has spent years being the provider, the protector, the fixer, and realizes the old playbook just doesn't work anymore? Today's guest has extensive experience on organizational culture, personal leadership, along with powerful insights on fatherhood, navigating divorce, and career transitions as well. His message is not for men who are in excuse mode, for men that are in rebuild mode. Let's welcome to the stage executive coach, creator of the Leader in the Mirror project. John Little's here. John, good to have you, man.
Appreciate you, Mr. U. Happy to be here.
Same here, but let's go ahead and jump in. So I mentioned the outset about the old playbook not working. For those of you who are not aware of what we do, and for you as well, John, this show is a sister to our Men's Roundtable Series podcast. Every Thursday night at 7 p.m. EST, we have a panel of men from around the country. We're talking about every issue, Jermaine the man, you name it, we talk about it. This is just a one-on-one version of that show. So we're talking about things that are Jermaine the man, but also an all-male audience for the most part. Some women are watching and listening to us, and we're good with that. But in regards to the old playbook, John, you describe how men you serve aren't broken, but they're in rebuild mode. How does a man recognize that the strategies that help them succeed up to this point maybe was holding them back now? How do you help them deal with that?
Yeah, it's interesting because a lot of the men that I work with are accomplished men. So they're accomplished professionally. They've had the career, they've had the prestige. A lot of times they are navigating either through different stages of fatherhood, or maybe they've raised their kids and their kids are, now out in the world. And all of the things that we did to get us to that point, like they all worked. And so that's the playbook that I talk about. Like we know how to do those things and it's on autopilot. But what happens when those dynamics shift? Like what happens when maybe a relationship shifts, right? Maybe you're no longer in the same relationship, or even you're in the relationship, but the dynamic is different, or you've been in a job for a long time and all of a sudden that job is no longer there and that job was your identity. So what it feels like for men is they just feel disoriented. They just feel like a little bit lost, but they can't really identify why, right? They can't really put their finger on this changed and now I've changed. It's like, I don't know why the things that I've found pleasure in before, the things that have excited me before, the things that I've leaned into to help me be successful, I just don't feel the same way about them anymore. And that's what I talk about when I say that playbook has changed, because we're now in that place all of a sudden, okay, now what do I do? And we can't lean on past experience like we've always done as men. And that's where that struggle sometimes pops up.
Yeah, we definitely deal with that kind of stuff. You're speaking our language, because that's what we deal with on our show, man. So this is right down our alley for sure. It's going to be a fun chat. Yeah. You personally experienced divorce, entrepreneurship, uncertainty with finances, like many of us have, responsibility as a father, career reinvention, rebranding yourself. We've done a lot of those things. What would you say, without identifying anybody in particular, can you highlight probably the best answer you've given a man to the question, who am I now? After the things have changed, their roles have changed, their lifestyle has changed. Can you identify one of the best answers you ever gave somebody for who am I now? The who am I now question, the identity question, if you will.
Yeah, it's one of the archetypes that I talk about, which is the fixer. And it was a brother that I was working with, and I've used his story in a book that I wrote. But essentially he was in that place where everything was clicking at work. He was an award-winning leader. He was hitting all the marks, had all the prestige. And then when he got home every day, he would just sit in his driveway before going in the house, because he just had such a struggle connecting with his son. And his son was navigating through some things school-wise, teenager, just trying to figure out life. And his process was, let me go in and fix the things that my son is struggling with. Let me give him the answers. Let me give him the steps. Let me give him what he needs in order to get over this hurdle. And in doing that, he wasn't really giving his son what he needed, because what his son needed was his son needed to be understood. His son needed to not feel like a stranger. His son needed to not feel like a project. His son needed to feel like,
Wow.
like dad is here with me, not dad is here to give me the instructions. So just helping him see that shift, helping him see, all right, instead of giving the answers, start asking questions. Instead of like showing the path, sit down next to your son as you go down that path together. Like those shifts made all the difference in the world. It didn't mean that everything was perfect going forward from that point. But what it did mean was now he no longer felt like a stranger in his son's life, and his son never didn't feel anymore like he was being managed every day. He felt like he actually had a partner.
I like it. I love the 7 archetypes you laid out too. You can get into those if you'd like to, if you think we can do it in a fair amount of time. But one of the things I think is a challenge and a theme that we talk about a lot in our broadcasting is strength becoming a trap.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to hear your thoughts on that, along with the piece of, people who are in situations like the men that we're talking about that realize that they have to now try to almost escape the identity they spend so much time building and kind of rebuild themselves all over again, which is strange and daunting and probably scary for a lot of men. So you can speak to one or both of those. We can speak to the archetypes. Yeah. Go ahead. Be free with it, man. Go ahead.
I love how you say strength is a trap, because that is often what hits us. And, most of the men that I work with are in that age range of 45 and above. So, late stage millennial, Gen X. And I got a little wisdom down here. So that tells a little bit about my age. But the way that I was raised, and many men my age, my generation, like I always joke, we were raised playing on broken glass and drinking hose water. Like that's how we grew up. Right.
That's exactly what it was. And it didn't do nothing to us. It didn't hurt.
Right. It didn't do anything to us. But here, and that served us so well as we became accomplished through our life, like that grit, that determination, that we'll figure it out. But where strength becomes a trap, as you said, and I love how you phrase that, is we also weren't taught the other side of that. So we weren't taught vulnerability. We weren't taught to say, I need help. We weren't taught to say, I don't have the answers. We weren't taught to. We were taught that those things were weakness. We weren't taught to get in touch with our EQ, our emotional intelligence, because emotions weren't something that had anything to do with anything, right? So in the work that I do is I really help men recognize, hey, that's okay. And that's what you really need to lean into now. And the 7 archetypes, the fixer, the provider, the performer, the controller, the drifter, the calculator, and the protector, we all have those things within us at varying degrees. And we will lean into those when we understand where they are. So now, instead of fixing situations, like the example I shared, I can be there with you and be there alongside of you, instead of feeling like I have to figure everything out for myself and I'm drifting along in life, and my spouse or my partner or my kids or my friends, they see that I'm drifting and it seems like I'm aimless, but really I'm just looking for direction. I don't need motivation. I just need something to point all of my energy towards. So when we can get in touch with those things, when we can recognize those things, it's not even starting over from scratch. It's more so accessing tools that we've already had and already used, but just accessing them in a different way.
I like it. I think one of your philosophies, if I'm not mistaken, is growing from trust. Kind of speak to our audience about what that actually means.
Yeah, so it's a framework that I've shared with leaders in corporate spaces for years, and it really is, anytime that you want new opportunities to do things, anytime that you want to grow, it always starts with trust. Trust is the foundation for everything. And once you're able to build and establish and culture that trust, and sometimes it's even trusting yourself, then you start to gain influence with others. And the influence that you gain is they start to want to hear your opinions. They want to start to understand where you're coming from a little bit more, and they allow you to speak in their lives a little bit. Once you've gained influence, then that allows them to grant you authority. And when you're granted authority, that's when you're being invited in. That's when people are seeking you out. That's when people really give they give you a lot more, and you're able to get a lot more from them. And that's where those opportunities come into play. So it's like you build trust to gain influence, to be granted authority, and then opportunities are provided. But a lot of times when we are in that space of struggle, or in that space of conflict, or in that space of not really knowing what it is we should do, we try to jump right to authority by like grabbing power. And we try to leverage what we feel that we have, whether that's a position, whether that's leverage, whatever it is that we feel most powerful in, we'll try to latch onto that and think that that will give us the opportunities to grow, or the opportunities to do the things we want to do. And it may work transactionally a little bit, but if there's no influence that we gained, and if nobody has given us authority, then we end up realizing that that's kind of a flat opportunity. It's not a true opportunity, and it's not sustainable either.
Makes sense. My next question is probably going to be a little bit heavy-handed, but I mean it with all sincerity and authenticity. We're both coaches, so I know this may sound like we're trying to get business for ourselves, but that's not my point of this. But when a man, in the same realm of self-trust that we're in right now, we're talking about when a man's leadership kind of erodes and they lose confidence in their own judgment. Somebody like you and I might say, you know what, you need a mentor or a coach. No, perhaps I can help you. You know what I'm saying? But even if that is not an option, what do you advise men to do if you're faced with a man who has that loss of confidence in his ability to navigate the next season? How do you help them rebuild outside of them joining you in a program or joining me in a program? Is there something you do that you offer as at least some next steps for them before we can get to that place?
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess I'll speak generally and then go specific. Like anytime that I'm talking to a man who feels a little bit lost, like you're describing, what that man generally needs first is community. And that community looks different for everyone. It could be a community like the one that I'm building. It could be a coaching community. It could be, a one-on-one coaching relationship. But what men need in that space is they need someone else to say, yeah, like, I got you. Like, yeah, me too. Like, that's what we need. We need that connection with other men. And it's harder as we get older to find those connections just organically. So like it is spaces that have to be created. And that could be anything. That could be a group at your church. That could be, a group of men who you get together with to actually have like the conversations that we need to have. Because here's what's funny. And this is what I found in my research early on. The societal lie is that there's the old maid who is the woman who grows old with 17 cats and, dies alone, right? That's not reality. Reality is more men die alone and are found alone than women by a significant number because women find community. Think about it. Book clubs, tea parties, brunches, right? Those are communities that they find, and they find those communities and they stay connected to those communities for life. Men don't do that. Like once our knees and our ankles give out, like, we're no longer going to the basketball court. So we don't have those connections. If we don't do something like golf, then we don't go to a golf course. We don't have that connection. Men don't seek those things out. And so that's why it's so important for those communities to be created, to be cultivated. But if a man isn't finding that, it's find your community, find the people that are your people and connect with them.
Yeah, great segue into my next question, John. On the MRTS, we talk a lot about the pressure that men carry around silently. They don't talk about it. They don't share it. And, it at some point, there's a cost to be paid on the other side of that. Deterioration, maybe a lower EI or whatever. Why do you think, John, it's difficult for men to admit that, we need help in community and just give ourselves permission to say we don't have it figured out?
Because we've been told our whole lives that we have to find the answer. And that's really the simplest response is we have been taught through either how we were raised or how we raised our families. We were taught that in whatever our job role is, we were taught that we have to have the answer. And so it's harder for men our age, especially, to admit that I don't have the answer and I don't know where to find the answer. So what we'll end up doing is we'll continue to just like double down on the things. We'll do one of two things. We'll either double down on the things that we've been doing, trying to find that answer, or we'll go do the complete opposite. And that's where we'll start to like lose ourselves, right? That's where we start to do things out of character. And, you know, candidly speaking, like that's where we see things like, you know, infidelity. That's where we see things like, you know, substance abuses. That's where we see things like addictions pop up, and people are like, man, where did that come from? Like, I don't even know this dude anymore. But it's because that dude is trying to find that comfort space of like, I feel like myself. I feel like I've got something that I can latch to. It's one of my friends that I was talking to about this. He used the perfect word. He said untethered. He was talking about when his kids graduated from college and he was no longer going to the volleyball practices and, you know, going to the basketball games and doing all the school things. And once his kids graduated from college, he just felt untethered. He was like, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. I wake up every day and like, I don't know. And we had the relationship where he could say that, but he had been struggling with it for a while before he actually said it to me. And this is somebody who I talk to on an almost daily basis, but we just don't talk that deep. We just happen to be having one of those deep conversations. So that's the cost. The cost is we feel lost, and we will do anything to try to feel like we're locked in again.
Yeah, I do sympathize. I want to preface that before I say what I'm going to say next. I know we're not in the 1800s where you got people who are going on the gold rush and they're leaving their family for undetermined amount of time to go and find ways to make things better for them, or people who go to different states to try to build something and then bring their family along with them. I know that we have, you know, that mindset that we got to go out and figure some stuff out for ourselves, but it just kind of feels like in this day and time, the amount of options, we're inundated with so many of them everywhere. I can't even go on my computer sometimes. I can't even go on my Facebook page without seeing somebody's idea of an option. Yep. And it just kind of feels, I mean, help me bridge the gap there real quick if you can, because it feels like, you know what? I know that in the 1849, we were doing things a certain way. I know that even our grandfather and father did a certain way, but it's like, I know that we're affected by that, you know, generationally. I get that there's some spiritual principles attached to that, but it's like the options in front of our face so many times. It's like, man, you can't help but see it. You got to just say, you know what? I choose not to see. You can't say there's not any opportunity for community at all. There got to be some. The people who I know who needed it so bad, they say, you know what? I can't find it. I'm going to go ahead and build it, and it's been successful. So help me bridge the gap, man. I mean, I'm not saying we're making excuses here, but I'm like, we got options. We don't have none. So
I get it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. There's no lack of information. Then there's no lack of access to information. But there's two things that are frequently missing: connection and activation. Those are the two things where men will find themselves like, I don't know how to do that piece. Like they can see all of the pieces out there. They can see all of they can, like you said, you can go on Facebook and you will see group after group after group that may speak directly to you, right? And then when you get in those groups, you recognize that those are just a toxic pit of, you know what, a lot of times, because men that are struggling with the same things that you are, they're trying to find answers, but what they found is just another place to complain about the struggle, right? So there's no lack of information trying to figure out or trying to identify what things are, but what's missing is the connection. Like, who's going to help me get from here to there? How do I start? What's that first step? Because again, men's minds often will go to the finish line. Is like, I want to get to the result, but what is often missing is the activation. And a lot of times that activation is talking to someone like you and saying, help me see the path. Like, give me the breadcrumbs, help me see what I'm not seeing, like, and activate my mind, activate my steps, activate my process, activate my connection with others who are doing this. So I don't feel like I have to figure it out on my own, because by the time we get to a certain age, I mean, you know, again, I got some wisdom down here. I turned 56 later this month. I don't want to start
Really?
everything over all the time.
I got you, brother. I got you beat by a little bit.
Okay, so you know what I mean. You don't want to start over all the time. You don't want to start over with everything, right? Like if someone's going to give you the cheat sheet, if someone's going to give you the cheat code, if someone's going to give you the shortcut, like it doesn't mean that you're not going to do the work, but it's like, okay, you figured some stuff out. So let me plug into this because now
Oh, you froze above me. Can you still hear me?
yeah.
This conversation is too good to end like this, man.
I know. You
All
still
right,
have me?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. All right.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, man. No, we can't. This is too good. All right.
We're
and for
overloading
clarity's sake, you got me by 2 months. That's the correct thing. In 2 months, I'll be where you're going to be.
Okay.
We always end this show by doing, well, both of our shows by doing what I call a mirror check question. We have your website up on the screen for those that are watching us. If you're listening, it's in the show notes. It's also in the comment section and on the screen if you're watching the video replay of the episode. All right, so I want to put the entire philosophy that you created into one question. A man's looking in the mirror, John. He's realized that, you know what, the life that I've built isn't a bad life. I'm not sure it's the one that fits the man that I'm becoming. What's next for that man? What do you tell that man about rebuilding his identity, his leadership, ultimately his purpose? What do you say to that man? What does he do next?
Next thing he does is you need to figure out where you are right now, what's worked for you in the past, and why it isn't working for you going forward. That's the simplest thing, and that's the first step. And it all starts with self-awareness. It all starts with that question of what's off. Because if you can't figure out what's off, it's really hard to figure out what to do next. And that's what the first step in my process is. It is that self-check where a man goes through a series of questions and helps to get a sense of which one of the archetypes he is most closely identified with: the fixer, the provider, the performer, the controller, the drifter, the calculator, or the protector. Because there's really clear and specific steps that they do from that point forward that helps them when the next time they look in the mirror, they understand who they're looking at this stage of life and what they want to be looking at as they go forward. Thank you. Before we close out real quick, give us a snippet of what people can expect from the Leader in the Mirror project that you got going on, as brief as you can. Yeah, so thank you. So Leader in the Mirror project, I really am building a community of men accomplished who have experienced dynamic life changes and are looking to show up as the best version of themselves in those moments that matter going forward. And it is starting with that self-check, identifying kind of where you are. And then from there, getting involved in learning more about how to move the needle from where you are to where you want to be. So when you do have those moments that matter in life, you're showing up as the best version of yourself right now, based on the work that you're doing on yourself. And that's community, that's some coaching. It's a little bit of all the different models to feed them in to get them again to that next level where they're looking to go. Perfect, man. Thanks for coming on and sharing these insights, man. It's been fantastic meeting you and connecting with you. Hope we can do more stuff together in the future, man. Thank you for being here. Would love to. Thank you. If this episode resonates with you, of course, you can find John at mirror.bigjohnlittle.com, mirror.bigjohnlittle.com. Learn more about the Leader in the Mirror project and, of course, his work with men in coaching. Of course, if you want to help us out, subscribe to the Men's Roundtable Series YouTube channel or DM me to kind of continue the conversation. And, of course, we always say this at the end, the difference between where you are right now, who you are, and who you could become is measured by what you do every single day. That's Big John Little, the founder and CEO of the Winner's Edge Coaching. And I'm Mr. U on the Men's Roundtable Series Spotlight. Thanks for watching and listening. We're out. Have a good one. Men's Roundtable Series. Step inside. Real men, real faith, where the truths collide. Voices at the table where the stories get shared. Welcome to the Men's Roundtable. Pull up a chair.